Welcome to the Psychologist Mind podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brandon Gamble. I'm an educational psychologist, professor, consultant, and personal coach. Today, we are getting into the main topics of psychology, which is how to explain, predict, and modify behavior, but also it is the enlightenment and the illumination of the soul. Today, I want to talk about living with mental illness and disclosing it to others. So, a great quote that I found from Dr. Naomi, who has developed retreats for people with cancer, said, "Helping, fixing, and serving represent three different ways of seeing life. When you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. When you serve, you see life as whole. Fixing and helping may be the work of the ego, and service the work of the soul." Man, I think about all the young people I've worked with over the years and how that quote really resonates with me about service. I'm not fixing anyone. And most people I know are far stronger than I could ever imagine. But I look forward to being a witness to their greatness. That said, we've all been witness, or at least most of us in the world, if we've followed any parts of tennis at all. And from the Associated Press, this June 3rd in 2021 from Paris, tennis professional Naomi Osaka dropped out of the French Open because news conferences caused her huge waves of anxiety. According to Sports Illustrated, since 2018, she has suffered from long bouts of depression. The AP also highlighted she has taken a leading role in protesting the deaths last year of George Floyd and other black people who died at the hands of police, wearing a mask with a different victim's name on each match day at the 2020 U.S. Open. She was named 2020 AP Female Athlete of the Year. From August 2020 to February, according to the AP article, the percentage of adults with recent symptoms of an anxiety or depressive disorder increased from 36.4% to 41.5%, according to a survey by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Census Bureau. So some of the ideas about disclosing to others really resonated with me as I thought about Ms. Osaka's challenges. And particularly, I've found even as a psychologist who understands I have to be careful about who I tell about my mental illness and how I do it. For me, I do it to reduce stigma for people who have felt ashamed of living with anxiety or depression. I've been fully aware of my issues for 20 some odd years. There's a colloquial phrase that goes, psychologists have issues. And I put those issues in air quotes. However, a 2016 Psychology Today article confirmed that an estimated 49.5% of psychologists in the United Kingdom or Britain have had depression, which was similar to a 1994 survey. Again, that's 1994 survey of American psychologists found 61% reported being depressed and 29% had suicidal thoughts. I entered graduate school and heard those numbers in 1995. I had my first depressive episode during the 1995-96 school year. At least one that I was aware, but I wasn't ready to tell anyone about it, not even my wife at the time. However, in 2000, while working on a list of depressive issues for a student at a high school where I was working, I realized I was likely depressed. And soon I started seeking treatment. It was another 10 years before I disclosed my mental health issues online. Back in the 2000s, I was working a lot and not seeing a lot of results as well. And that's one of the things the Psychology Today article brought out, that many times psychologists are burdened and overwhelmed with the idea that we think things will get better. As I listen and see young people posting on social media and being more free with their conversations, like Ms. Osaka has been in relation to mental health, everyone from some of these recording artists who have shared either in their songs or in their interviews that they're struggling with mental health, it's been good to see, and hopefully more people are seeking treatment, but also the challenge comes when the psychologists are struggling themselves. But that's for another topic and another time. I really want to focus on disclosing to others. So the National Alliance on Mental Illness suggests that when you're unwell, tell the most supportive person in your life, as opposed to when you are well, and that's a broader time to disclose. But be clear about your own understanding of what mental illness is too, so you can get help. You're the expert in your own mental illness, understanding when it began, and so also understanding how you can tell you are getting better. So when you talk to close family members or friends. Some other recommendations from NAMI, or the National Alliance of Mental Illness: tell when you are well in a calm environment, right? If you're getting treatment, you're feeling better, sit down with somebody who can really understand where you're coming from. Also tell when you're well and when it serves a purpose, right? Relationships, work, at school, with your gym. Work in particular, you need to know your legal rights, so you're not putting your work or your career in a compromising position. For relationships, be aware that it can go three different ways, right? The relationship could stay the same, it could end abruptly, or it can slowly fade. However, the constant is that you're staying true to yourself. So talk with your mental health provider about how to make that disclosure, especially in those significant relationships in your life. When you're ready, make a pro and con list for disclosure in important areas in your life. You may have a very different need and reason to disclose than I have, but the issue usually does arise. And I'm kind of pausing here because I'm thinking about people who I know who've been outed, as it were, who people have found out that someone has a mental illness and whispers begin, or gossip or other things. I think it's important for you to own your own story and be able to tell that story on your own terms. But when you do sit down with somebody, here's some other recommendations, and these last four I think are very important. Share how the process of how you want to talk about it before you talk about it, especially if you are disclosing to someone who is unfamiliar with mental health. So the process, you might want it to be a back and forth. You state what the information is, you get their response, and then you tell them some more information, right? It's also good to be ready to have concrete examples. This is the second recommendation here of these last four. So you might have a lack of sleep. You might be skipping important meetings due to anxiety. You may be crying more frequently or even having suicidal thoughts. But it's important that you've practiced this, but you do have some examples. The next to last one here is that provide suggestions for those close to you on ways to support you. Most people really do want to help, and you need to think through about how they're going to be in your support network. Remember, you don't have to share everything. For me, it is the behaviors that people may see at work, but may interpret as indifference, right? And really, I have to set up boundaries. For Miss Osaka, she talked about press conferences can be overwhelming for her. So I think it's important that we're able to share with people where we're coming from and what's going on with us. Man, and I'm just pausing here to think about thank the many people who over the years, I've been on social media now for going on 12 years, and my conversations with people that have been meaningful and impactful as I've shared my struggles with mental health and mental illness, or times where I'm not able to sleep and had insomnia or been stressed out, or what I wasn't aware of was anxiety as well. Sometimes I'm dealing with anxiety, right? And for me, anxiety may look like it's a recurring thought that really is giving me more distress than it needs to, because there's factors I don't know. But sometimes because I'm trying to think so far ahead, I spend more time thinking about the issue than the things that are right in front of me. So yeah, I just really want to thank folks who've not only done that, but especially spread the word about, so we can reduce stigma and to get more people into treatment or knowledge and information, and in social support networks that are supportive. All right. Next time, you can continue to follow this podcast. But for more content, take a look at drbrandongamble.com. You can follow me on Facebook at Dr. Brandon Gamble, or Our Black History Podcast, as well as our Facebook. Once again, that's Our Black History, which I host with my sister, Terry Gamble. The Gold Doctor is also on podcasts. The Gold Doctor podcast, I should say, is on Facebook, Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, and at golddoctor.net, which is my latest webpage. Once again, that's golddoctor.net. Join me next time as we talk about the latest in psychology, news, concepts, and recommendations, what is going on in the psychologist's mind. Have a great day. I'm just going to take some time here to laugh a little bit, because it's worth laughing at myself. This is the third take I've done on this episode. It was a little harder than I thought it was going to be to self-disclose. It always is. So give yourself some space. All right. Hope you have a great day. And, laugh. Bye.